Rhine and Shine, podcast brought you by Blue Rhine Industries.
So today we've got Pete Assman from Living Maps here in the studio for just a session to understand more about his company, Living Maps, based in London, who bring maps to life. Welcome. Welcome to Dubai.
Thank you very much. Loving every minute. Thank you.
And it's not your first time?
No. I've been to Dubai many times. Done a lot of business in Dubai, and it's certainly a place that I enjoy coming to. So
when was your first trip?
My first trip was probably back in about 2008, 2009 with my daughters. It was one of those lovely holidays you have just after a long divorce, and my kids say, well, can we go somewhere hot?
And you're like, anywhere you like.
Anywhere you like, yeah.
So your background is smart tech.
Yeah.
Perhaps you can tell us a little bit about how you got into smart tech. Is this what you've always done, or is it something you stumbled into? Just
it's probably fair to say I probably fell into it by accident, really. Which is, I left the army many years ago and got trained as a
you're an army
engineer
man.
Many years ago. I came out and thought, well, I'll use some grant that I got to retrain as a network engineer. I understand it seems to be the internet was booming at the time in the late 90s.
I know them.
And I was in sales at the time, kind of thinking about, where do I go? What do I do in my career? And I got a call from a recruiter saying, look, there's this guy. I was kind of doing a lot of work in fintech, and they were looking for someone who understood networking in the fintech space. And they said, look, it's a little Canadian company. Don't really know much about them. I went for an interview with a guy called Rick Costanza, who I just fell in love with from the moment I met him. It was just this powerhouse Canadian-Italian chap who just knew exactly what needed to be done. And I had the pleasure of, launching a wonderful product with him in Europe.
And what is this product?
A little product called BlackBerry.
So you launched BlackBerry?
Well, I was part of the launch team of BlackBerry, with Rick and a small team. Launching in Europe in a space which was, desperate for mobile tech, for smart tech.
And what sort of year is this? It's like late
2000.
2000.
2000, sort of, really early days. And we were going
well before the iPhone.
Well before the iPhone was 2007.
So you're launching in Europe. Had the product already launched in America? Because I know that there was momentum already in the States with BlackBerry before the UK. I know the UK and I know the market there only.
Do you know what? I always said that I'd never work for a carrier, but working in fintech, and in 2008, as the market absolutely crashed, one of those things you kind of need a job. And O2 offered me a wonderful job, and I joined as a mobilization consultant. After leaving BlackBerry, I did a company called Outer Curve, which was the first software as a service, smart technology sort of provider globally, really, which put Bloomberg and Reuters into the handheld, which is really interesting. Really, I always say, in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. And when you look at a company like O2 at the time, they were desperate to sell connections. All they wanted to do was sell connections. But there was this idea that they wanted to do something else. There was this idea that the market was demanding that, they look at applications, they look at software as a service, platform as a service, put some sort of management wrap around it. And they didn't really know how to do it. They had no real exposure to it. And the market was so desperate for what they had, mobile technology.
The market didn't really know what they wanted.
Well, it was the downfall of BlackBerry, really. BlackBerry did not believe that a true browser was necessary on a device.
I straddled between two. I straddled between a BlackBerry and an iPhone for a good 2 years.
Well,
I was walking around with two devices for the BBM.
I know.
I couldn't let go of BBM.
I'll tell you a funny story that when I first joined O2 as a mobilization consultant, you were given every device you needed to be able to go show clients and talk to them about it. And they wanted us to sell devices, which today seems a bit weird, but yes, there was driving that sales. And I remember I got an iPhone and I said, well, I'm never going to use this because I love my BlackBerry. I'm never going to get off my BlackBerry. And
You're like, die hard. I launched this.
I launched this.
This is
my
me.
product. It'll be forever. And I remember actually giving my very first iPhone to a customer. I said, no, you can have it. I'm not going to use it. I got properly told off when I got back to the office. It's
$1,000.
There's only about 40 of them in the country. You're just giving yours away. And it was just like, but I'm not going to use it. And then, now I'm a diehard iPhone. I will never come off it. But it was one of those weird things where the market was demanding so much more from a device. BlackBerry didn't believe at the time, probably a little bit of arrogance because they had such a massive market share and everybody loved your BlackBerry, right?
Yeah.
Such a huge market share that was actually demanding that they got more and more and more. And the fact is that the people did want a browser. They did want to have an application. They did want to grow that. And Apple got it right. And they got that whole piece right. And, when you go onto Google today on your iPhone, it's exactly like any other experience you'll have on any other device. So they were right. And going into the world of O2 and understanding that was really key. Understanding the market was really key. But fintech was dead at the time. It was just, no one was buying anything in the market. It was, the whole thing had just become a bit of a massive car crash. And weirdly, my career took a bit of a turn then. I got a call from a guy called Martin Stiven, who was a sales director of O2 at the time. He said, look, we've just won this account. It's a horrible account. They've got rid of three client directors. Don't quite know how to manage them. You're the only one really who's got big company experience. When you have a look at them, I'm thinking, it's going to be a Barclays, it's going to be a HSBC. No, it was Network Rail. So I was asked to go and look at Network Rail.
So glamorous.
I know, and I'll tell you what, it was the best days of my life working on that Network Rail account. Number one, I love engineering, so I do talk to a lot of children and a lot of university students as the benefits of studying STEM subjects and the importance of them really today. I'm not an academic myself, but I see the value of them, especially in the market that we work in.
Yeah.
So looking at Network Rail, which is all engineering, everything they do is engineering, and they demanding so much more from the device that they wanted to be able to think about how they could put all these back-end systems onto a platform so they could be more efficient in delivering what their services were. So it was spot on. It was one of those great things, and it really was. And I made the comment about being in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. It's taking this organisation that was very much mobile centric, all about selling devices, all about selling SIM connections, to going to do something that was going to drive revenues, but it was a longer term play. And they had this vision of becoming so much more, O2 becoming so much more, and Network Rail was the perfect customer to do that with because they wanted to do so much more.
So that kind of naturally brings us to where you are, because I didn't know about this background in mobility, mobile solutions, apps, etc. So I was introduced to Living Map as a device to be able to navigate public spaces. So how did that happen?
It was one of the. I'd say it was kind of a weird call, really. I'd taken a bit of time off from the telecoms, from the world of sort of communications for a while, thinking about what I want to do next. My love is in technology, smart technologies. How can technology fundamentally change the way we are today, whether it's AI or BI, whether it's taking, something that, used to take us an hour to do, now takes us a minute to do, applications, we talk about that, and how do we take this to the next stage? And I got a call from a very good friend of mine, Joe Pincus. He said, look, there's this little company called Living Map. They're looking for someone to kind of fundamentally bring them to market, bring a go-to-market strategy for them. They've got great products, but they just need a good, strong understanding of how to do that. So about a year ago, it was over a year ago now that I joined Living Map, and it was a bit of a baptism of fire. This is a company that is, if you think about COVID, no one needed indoor maps during the COVID period. No one needed indoor navigation at all.
You weren't going anywhere.
Right? Exactly. And we're based in the UK, which I can assure you is even worse.
Kitchen to sofa.
Which is even worse anywhere in the world. When COVID is over, somebody's going to want to do, someone's going to use this. So,
when COVID's over, everyone is going to want to explore, and all they'll want to do is just be out there exploring.
Exactly. But what was interesting, I'm about smart technologies. I'm about IoT. I'm about understanding how the stack of getting smart tech working really happens. So. We talk about BRI and we talk about what Living Map can do together. If you think about the stepping stones it will take just for a shopping mall to be able to deploy a Living Map solution, there's a number of different things they need to take. And if you've got that end-to-end solution, which you guys have, it makes life so much easier for the customer to procure, to buy. And smart technologies, I suppose, a couple of the failures that it's had over the years. I mean, there's no mistake that probably a few years ago, I think it was like 70% of IoT proof of concepts failed, and the reason for that is there's just so much complication to actually doing it. It's that end-to-end piece. So trying to put it together in a 5-step process was something that I really care about, something I'm passionate about, and making sure that works. And Living Map was kind of the end piece. It was the software as a service piece that kind of brought digital transformation, if you want to reality. Everybody's saying that we need to drive this digital footprint. We need to be able to do more. We need to think about where we're going with all this. But actually, in the reality of it is putting it in the hands of people. We did it with BlackBerry, right? Putting it into the hands of people. Email into the hands of people was so powerful. It was so cool.
You're repeating that almost, right?
I know, it was brilliant. Exactly.
I mean, fundamentally, it's the same. Emails in hand. It's like letters in hand instantly. Now you're just giving directions, navigation, information.
Exactly. I mean, personally, I'd rather not be efficient when I go to a shopping mall or an airport. I'd rather be a little bit relaxed and chilled out. But people demand efficiency. They demand to be able to do things so much quicker.
Is that a generational thing, do you? I personally think it's, you've got kids and, this younger generation, everything needs to be instant, spoon-fed, don't want to think about anything. And if it's not on a device, it's like it doesn't exist.
Exactly, that's so true. That's the market we're in. That's the world we live in right now, and there is such a link between corporate and consumer world now. That the two really work hand in hand. My daughters, are both at university now. They leave everything from a single device.
Yeah.
So everything comes from that device, and their tech goes out the back of it. So, so why Living Map? And for me, when I looked at the proposition, I thought, this could be something. This could be quite interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not from the mapping world. I'm not from from that particular space, but I am from the smart tech space, and I understand the importance of smart tech. And there's always a number of things that you look at when a company goes from that startup to that scale-up stage, which we're definitely in right now, is, do they have great product and do they have customers? Those are the two things you really want to see. There's so many startups out there that don't really have great products and they don't have customers, but they've got the desire and the plan to get there. So, it was great joining Living Map because they had the great product. They'd spent so much time and effort building this platform that it was so fundamentally easy to access, whether it's a web browser, whether it's through an application, whether it's through an SDK, whether, it's there, it's easy. I mean, we could log on to, the Met Museum in New York right now and you'll see the Living Map up and running, so they have great product with some fantastic customers, Star Alliance, the Met Museum, mentioned that. So, so all of a sudden for me, it was like, this could be something really quite special. Joined, they hadn't really done a lot of sales. They hadn't really done a lot of marketing. They'd kind of kept in the I suppose in the shadows with some big customers and moving that to the next stage. So my job was really to expose the company to the market. Really think about where we go. We've got customers in the Far East. We've got customers in the Middle East. We've got customers in America. We've got lots of customers in the UK. We've just finished and just deployed HS1, which is, let's call it Harry Potter's train station.
Yeah.
Which you know very, very well. The great thing about Living Map is they have customers that love what we do, customers that really want to embrace what we do and accelerate out the back of it. So we it's really given me the platform to be able to say, right, my go-to-market strategy is positive from the fact that we have great product that fundamentally works.
Yeah.
How many startups, how many scale-ups have you seen in your career where they come up and say, we've got a great product, and then you start scratching the surface and it doesn't work.
It's not quite there.
I've been there,
We've been to these exhibitions where, they're like, oh my God, look at this smart tech. 10 years ago, there were so many retail technology solutions, but then when you went to deploy, they were very clunky. They were lagging. The lagging's the worst for the end user.
Oh, it really, really is. And, it's just, it kind of still gives me a buzz about technology. I was actually in St. Pancras. I was introducing our new account manager to the team there quite recently. And I know this sounds really, really sad, but this is what gets me excited and gets me up in the morning. She was trying to find where I was, and I was stood outside Fortnum Masons in St. Pancras, and she just got off at King's Cross. And they've got the new UI, the new Living Map UI, and I've heard so much about it. And I should have probably spent more time focusing on it, but I thought, no, I walked in St. Pancras, they were the first to get it. And I thought, I'll just turn it on. So I started using it, spoke to Phil, our CTO, and said, right, I'm just about to use it. He said, have a play with it, see what you think.
Yeah.
Now, this sounds really, really sad, but when I opened the map, I found out where I was. So it gave me the blue dot. I was outside of Fortnum Masons, and it gave me two options down the bottom, which is live today, and I can show you this. It says navigate or share.
Oh, I love that.
Oh, share.
Share location.
So I hit share location. It kicks into your iPhone. You give you all the different versions you can send it. We can send it by WhatsApp, send it by text, send it by email. And Nicola just arrived at King's Cross, and I sent her the location as she walks into St. Pancras. So where are you? Where are you? She hits the link. It positions her with a blue dot. Would you like to navigate to where this is? Hits navigate, and she navigates to me. Finds me within 5 minutes.
That's amazing.
In a packed out train station. Now, it's kind of the things that we should be doing really, really well.
Yeah.
When it really fundamentally works. And then the customer sees it as well. And he goes, well, I've got the transport minister from France coming in next week. I'm going to use this.
That's
Exactly what I'm going to tell you exactly where I am.
Firsthand as an end user when you get to experience the value. So perhaps you can just, for the listeners who don't understand what Living Map is, I know what it is, so I can understand the story you just gave. What does Living Map do, like for the end user?
Okay, so if you think about Living Map as a whole, is we effectively bring maps to life. We are the sat-nav for indoors, even though customers demand we do outdoors as well, which I'll explain why in a minute, but we effectively give you the ability to be able to navigate through indoor space with a blue dot, so lots of the competitors out there will do multiple of different things, but we kind of do it all from an end-to-end perspective when it comes to mapping. So, it's really important to note that, we have a platform that will give you that blue dot. We use Apple Core Location and Android Fusion, and we build that into our platform, our software, to be able to position you wherever you are within a built-up environment.
Okay. So for those who don't know, the blue dot is your actual position. Same as when you use it on Google Maps, it will give your real-time position on the map up to a couple of meters?
Up to about 5 to 10 meters, depending on where you are.
Okay.
Depending on how tight the survey's been done. But, it's generally pretty... Well, I was right outside of Fortnum & Masons, and it knew exactly where I was, and it was literally within a 1 or 2 meters. If you think of Google...
I think you say 5 to 10, but in reality, I've seen it be a lot more accurate.
Yeah, well, it
a couple of meters.
So I'm trying to be
conservative
around the truth. But the thing is, it's really important that, your listeners understand this. There's 3 elements to Living Map, and probably the map for the end user is critical, right? So being able to use the map to be able to navigate through, be able to be intuitive, that your 90-year-old grandmother can pick it up really quickly and use that map. Somebody walking into a hospital can know exactly where their appointment is, and they can be routed to that. It's really important for that. However, it's 3 elements to this. So there's that, which is the map, which is key. There's the platform that it's built on. So we build the platform for them. So there's a number of different elements that you need within that map. So you need, obviously, the directions of where people need to go. There's a lot of work that needs to be done in this piece, and this is where I see BRI really starting to come in and help us. There's obviously the third piece, which is the actual software itself, what it actually gives you. And the big thing is control. So the minute you print off a map, it's out of date.
Yeah.
The majority of I suppose, digital maps that are out there, to make a change to that map will either cost an absolute fortune or is impossible to do. You need to rebuild a map.
Yeah.
We don't do that. The software gives you the ability to make changes on the hoof. So, for instance, if the disabled restrooms are out of action within a shopping mall, they can be instantly turned off, and instantly people can be redirected to the next one. So a disabled person's not going to turn up to the loo and
be disappointed.
They're disappointed, or create anxiety, create stress, because automatically it's been shifted off to somewhere else. The new UI gives you the ability to be able to search a route that hasn't got any stairs in it. It hasn't got escalators in it. It goes through the lift to the elevator.
So for people of determination, you've got...
Exactly, So it gives you the ability to be able to do so much more. But the platform is really key, but the software is what makes it all hang together and come together. We've just done a meeting in NEOM in Saudi Arabia. It's one of our newest customers, and they want to do so much more with it. As they're growing.
They're so visionary as well in terms of what they want to be able to give their residents and visitors in terms of smart technology and have a real, a smart city.
Absolutely, it's what I love about it, and having the conversations this week and being a smart tech guys. They're thinking of technology that's not even invented yet, and that's what gets me excited.
Yeah.
How can they possibly move a train at 600 miles an hour? Well, there's ways and means of doing it. The technology around that. Going back to trains again, apologies. But the importance of actually embracing smart technologies and they want to work with the innovators, the entrepreneurs around the world.
They want to collaborate. They very much.
Absolutely.
We overuse this term partnership. In sales, it's like, we'll be your trusted partner. But I think with developers such as NEOM, they truly do see the supplier as a partner and a collaborator. So, they're coming to you with ideas and they're pushing you for your R&D and to deliver those projects. And I think we'll touch upon this a little bit later, but, why the Middle East is so interesting for that.
No, it really is. I mean, that for me it's a great point to move to, because what Living Map do is effectively we navigate people.
Yeah.
Think of your car sat nav. Back in the BlackBerry days, there was Telmap and there was TomTom that we all used to get, and we used to get very excited about the fact that we don't have to use the A to Z when you're driving in London. You've got a satellite navigation system now, and it was huge. It was such a massive explosion. It was the one app that everybody wanted. But I suppose indoor mapping has always been something that's been left out because it's so much harder to do.
Yeah.
And that's what we really
without having a million beacons and spending hundreds of thousands of dollars and maintaining those beacons as well. And I think the technology was there to do it, but the infrastructure was so heavy.
Absolutely. Well, we know a couple of airports, and they're going to remain nameless, that spend in excess of £500,000 a year just to maintain their beacon network.
The existing beacons,
just to maintain it. So and the great thing about Living Map, another great part of the technology that we have, is we don't need a new hardware infrastructure. This is the way the system works. You can, but we'd recommend sometimes you might want to put a beacon in a very busy security hall in an airport just to give you that real level of accuracy that you may need, but we don't need it. So we can easily do. St Pancras hasn't had to have any new infrastructure put in place to have that map up and running, positioning me outside Fortnum Masons in St Pancras. So, that's the great thing about Living Maps. So deploying a map is so much quicker, so much easier. We can do it effectively from the back of IMDF files or on the back of CAD drawings, and we can deploy maps so much quicker because we don't need new hardware, we don't need new infrastructure. Saying that, though, smart technologies is about, having the software, the hardware, the security across it all. So we need to make sure the customers are aware that sometimes, you need to consider how we do these kind of things. But, we can deploy a map within 6 to 8 weeks, of a very large space, very simply, very easily, because of the operations. Operations, right? That operation.
I was looking at some of the project plans, with one of your team, and I was just like, I was like, can you just go back to him and double check? Like, it says a month for deployment. And this is a very large site, by the way, a number of sites. And he was like, yeah, we'll be doing 14 sites simultaneously delivered within 4 weeks. And I was just like, just put another week buffer in there. Just put a couple of weeks buffer in there. But he was like, I was like, it was phenomenal that you'd be able to map a space out so quickly, have it available on a mobile device. We're obviously collaborating with you on the kiosk solution. So, we love the platform because, devices is the future. It's not even the future, it's the present. People want to have their maps on their phones. But in places like Dubai, where you've got a lot of tourists who might not be wanting to use a mobile, the battery dies, shopping malls, we still have these kiosks, information kiosks that have the maps. And we love the solution because it can be used on a digital screen, interactive screen, and then take it straight from there onto a mobile device. And the fact that it doesn't need to be in an app.
No,
so maybe that's the bit I want you to talk about, because that is the
course.
game changer. I think that's what really differentiated you from a few of the other players for me, was that no app required. You can probably just take a QR code and you've got it on a browser.
Exactly. But look, it's all about accessibility, right? It's all about making it really easy to use. I mean, when the iPhone came out, everybody said within 3 days you'll never use another device again. I didn't believe it until I actually picked it up.
Gave it away.
I gave it away. And used it for 3 days and went, oh my word, they're right. And that's the kind of technology we're talking about here. So you want the people that are the consumers that are going to be consuming and using the technology to be able to have real simple access to it. So the principles of what we have is, it's accessible by any deviise. It's viewable.
So this is the other thing. It can be accessed on an Apple and an Android, because another limitation in the past, like in the last few, probably going back 3-4 years, is that it would only be available on an iPhone.
Absolutely. Well, it's about, it's about that ability to be able to connect with people and be able to do that. And so Phil, our CTO, is very keen to make sure that everyone can access it and actually can use it. And because the more people that use it, the more data we get on how we can make it better.
Yep.
So having that information is really key. But having your mum and dad being able to go into a hospital and be lost the minute they walk in there, but actually have their smartphone. Everyone's got a smartphone now. We do get obviously the arguments that not everyone does carry a smartphone, but my argument is being a mobile guy, I can tell you most people do have smartphones.
Most people,
and the ability to be able to transfer, go to a kiosk, go to a really plush kiosk, and let's face it. I mean, this far better than I do, Nita, but organisations spend an awful lot of money on very smart kiosks.
That aren't very smart.
They're not, because the minute you walk away, you've forgotten where you're going. I mean, how many times have you had to go from one kiosk to the next to get your directions of where you're going? And what we do is, you want to go somewhere, it'll kick up a QR code, you scan the QR code, and instantly that directions or whatever you search for will instantly be on your phone, and give the ability to be able to expand on the back of that and actually search it, change the different areas, come in, go out. So, having that accessibility is really important, and that's the fundamentals of what we do. So yes, we are browser based, so it's accessible by any browser. We do have an SDK, so you can build it into an app if that's what you choose. So Canary Wharf in London they've got the website, they've got the kiosks, they've got the application, they build it into their app, and that's on their website. So we do fit into those multiple different platforms and how the organisations need to use the software from a back end system perspective. But it's all about Canary Wharf, but it's quite a complex area. It's beautifully built up and it's so well developed, but it's quite complex. When you get there for the first time, it's really hard. I'll give you a simple example of where it really added value was the London Marathon last year. This year. I'm wishing my life away. They have a viewing gallery, and every year people get lost trying to find it. And what they did this year was they just put a living map kiosk just as people coming off the tube. There was a big sign saying, "Scan this to find your way to the viewing gallery," and thousands of people clicked on it and walked to the viewing gallery. And what we're going to do next year is, as they're going along, we can push banner ads out. Go past this area to get the best breakfast in Canary Wharf, and that starts to really interact with the retailers within the Canary Wharf space, but also the people that are going to view them, going to view the London Marathon, which is their purpose of there. So, and the great thing again about the map is they have multiple different events there. So every week there's a different event there. They have the ability to go into the system and prioritise that event and direct people
this is what I wanted to ask, is that what I really like about the software is the ability to be able to make those changes so quickly for those pop-up events, for kiosks, that are changing. It might be an Hermes one today or a Louis Vuitton. It's Dubai. I'm going to name the brands.
Of course, you're absolutely
tomorrow. So being able to change that, also being able to have real-time information. So the piece that I really like is the ability to integrate information into the map.
Absolutely.
So we obviously, our first engagement was with an airport. So being able to tell you how long it's going to take to walk to the gate, any offers on the way. So perhaps you can just talk about the most interesting integration work that you've done.
Absolutely. So Star Alliance. Star Alliance is probably the most exciting one that we've done. So
Star Alliance are which airlines?
So they've got 24 lines. So they're the likes of Lufthansa, Brussels Air,
Is
Singapore.
BA Star?
No, BA is on One World.
Okay.
So Singapore are Star. So think about what they're trying to do, the business case that they put around this. So the biggest issue they have is that it's transferring between airlines, which is the problem. So you land.
So transit passengers.
Yeah. So you land at Frankfurt.
We've all been there.
Yeah. You're landing in Frankfurt and Lufthansa, and you've got to get to Belgium.
You've got 40 minutes to get to
get there. Exactly. And if you think about that,
you need a coffee on the way.
If you want to get a coffee on the way, you'll be lucky. But I did it in when I got into Riyadh this week. Actually, the transfer between the terminals to me was Terminal 5 to Terminal 3 is a bus ride.
Yeah.
And I'm like, right, where does the bus go from? How do I get to the bus? Right, once I get off, I've got an hour to get across to Terminal 3.
Language can be a barrier as well.
Language is a huge barrier.
Yeah.
It would have been great if I had the whole thing in my hands. So Star saw that were quite visionary when they said, right, how do we solve this business case? And if you look at the numbers around this, it's significant. Airlines lose a tremendous amount of money every year.
And missed connections.
With missed connections. Air Canada from Heathrow put on a separate plane in the afternoon to move all those people that didn't come through quick enough. So what Star wanted to do, and they've got some fantastic technologies where they have the easiest way to explain it is all the gate information and the airline information is all into a single platform. So how do they make it so much more efficient? So for their users, for their customers, effectively. And what we did with them was to say, right, we'll develop a mapping tool which will build into your platform, build into your application.
So this is the Star Alliance application where you can book flights, check gates, offers.
It's kind of like a one-stop shop for everything you need within a journey or within a flight. So, and what they did is they wanted to build a mapping environment in. So as the passenger gets off the plane, they open their app, and there's the map. Your next gate is gate 42 in Terminal 2. You're now Terminal 5. Your walking journey between there and there is an hour. Yeah. You can get the bus here. So you go there and you can get the timetable.
The transport information,
all the
shuttle
transport information,
services.
all the shuttle services, all the API links into all of that. So effectively moving from A to B in an airport becomes so much more efficient. So that's great for the passenger because all
anxiety has been lifted.
Exactly. So they know the routes. They know how long it's going to take them. Yeah. They know they can stop for a coffee on the way, which is really important. Yeah. However, that was probably part of the solution. So it was that passenger experience and making sure it was so much easier. So Star were really visionary in this, and they really said, well, actually, this is really important that we bring this. However, what's in it for the gate agent? What's in it for the actual airlines? And that the benefit there was knowing where the person is. Now, because they're
logged in on the app,
because they've opted in, they're allowing that to be searched. So, for instance, if they know the passenger is 2 hours away, they say the plane leaves in 40 minutes, they'll get their luggage off the plane, and the plane will leave, and they'll put them onto the next flight. If they're 10 minutes away and WH Smith's buying an extra bag of Quavers,
They push a
can go and get them.
notification?
They can push a notification, or they can go and get them.
Yeah.
If they're stuck in a security queue, they can push them out a sort of fast pass, or go and get them. Take them
So
through.
queue jumps.
So queue jumps, all that kind of thing.
So you can integrate queue management into this.
Absolutely. You can do that next stage. So that was always the next stage of what we're trying to do. So the whole vision around the Star Alliance, the DCA, which is what they call it, is very much around giving that accessibility to the passenger, but the airlines knowing where their passengers are within an environment, within an airport, and having that ability to say, drop them a line, say, hey, look, you're going in the wrong direction. Come this way, and the gate agent
mutually beneficial here.
Exactly. So all of a sudden, the gate agent has control of where those passengers are. If they are having a few extra drinks in the bar, and they probably shouldn't be. They should be on the plane. You can go and get them. When I was in Qatar in October last year, going to Singapore and seeing the amount of gate agents running around looking for people to get on these planes so they can get these planes shifted and get them moving. And the signage culture that they have within the airline industry is very similar to rail. Here we go, talking about rail again. Where
you love trains.
I love rail. I do. It's very sad, but I absolutely do. I love the technology in it. But you think about the you've got the train operating companies and you've got the rail companies, you've got the airlines, and you've got the airports, and they're always a battle to get the airports out. And the airports want to keep people in the airport because they spend more money.
Yeah.
The airlines want to get them on the planes and get them out.
Yeah.
So what we try to do with Living Map is be a very small part of that puzzle to help them work closer together to be able to bring it. And Star Alliance were visionary. They worked, and we work incredibly well with them. We've got a fantastic partnership with them. I'm actually flying out to Singapore to see them next week to think about how we can expand this and take the whole thing to the next level. So
that's a beautiful airport as well.
Oh, it's stunning, absolutely stunning. Chenji, it's absolutely stunning. But no, so you're talking about what project that I particularly enjoy. It's definitely the Star Alliance piece, because they really were visionary around the industry and how they solve this problem.
And did they push you to develop features within the solution specifically for them?
Very much so. So, our positioning tool has really been, advanced because of Star over the years, So it's something that, they've demanded, and, it works so well in St Pancras today because of Star,
And which airports are you were? So that's, it's a group of airlines, and you're helping navigate the terminals and the airports that their airlines are operating through. But which airports have you also delivered for?
So we've done very few airports. So we're working with Frankfurt at the moment. We're working with Heathrow. We've done Heathrow.
Which terminal?
Terminal 2. So if you think about
unfortunate for the Emirates passengers here. Exactly. Terminal 3.
Terminal 3. We'll get that done soon. But think about the ability to be able to deploy a map so quickly that we can actually do. As long as we can get an ability to get a CAD drawing, we can deploy it very, very quickly. And that's what you've seen.
Yeah.
The complications of the shopping malls.
Yeah.
In no way can be done that quickly. It really, really can, because we're not going to be having to spend hours and hours doing multiple different surveys of multiple different companies to be able to bring it all together. We kind of can do it really, really quickly. So the ability for the airlines, for Star, to be able to deploy the map across airports. Yes, they need the airport buy-in. So we've got Munich, we've got Frankfurt, we've got Heathrow, we've got a few others that we're talking to and we've deployed. But deployment is really easy across an airport for us. And I say that tongue-in-cheek, and if Phil was here, he'd be kicking me under the table. But, it does make it a little bit easier to do that. So you getting those airlines to work with the map is not as hard as people may think.
Yeah.
We'll do the background, we'll get the stuff doing. So we can do an airport without their permission. But as long as as long as we can get the mapping information,
I think with an airport you can really see the ROI so quickly.
It's huge, absolutely
because
huge.
it's not a visitor, it's not experience. Because how do you measure experience without going and doing a bit of customer research? This one you're seeing values. You're seeing an increase in a decrease in the number of missed flights, an increase perhaps in rerouting people to dead areas. I mean, we've used indoor navigation, mostly for shopping malls. And in this region, it's worked so well because we've got, 160 odd languages being spoken here. So that customer service sometimes works a lot more efficiently on a kiosk where you've got multiple languages. They can search H&M, find their way there without having that language barrier with a customer service agent. So I've seen it from that perspective, and that's all visitor journey. And it's very difficult sometimes to measure that, but with an airline, you can definitely measure it. And emotionally, I think you can measure it with what you're doing with the NHS, which I think is really unusual. The value is it's that speed and being able to move those rooms. So perhaps allow you to speak a little bit more about that, because I think we're all very passionate about when it comes to healthcare, because it's such a sensitive topic.
It's one of those. Absolutely. Sensitive topic is absolutely the right way to phrase that. And it's, think about, and I can think of my personal experience, both my mum and my partner's father, who were going to hospitals to have treatment for what they had at the time. And the minute they walk into these incredibly efficient but incredibly large areas, they get lost. First of all, they're anxious, they're stressed. If
Everyone is.
The minute you walk in, just if you're going to see an oncologist, you can't think of the pressure that person must be going in to go in there. And the NHS is anything but the technology that runs around those places is phenomenal. But wayfinding is very woeful. There's a number of different very intelligent people that have put signs up, which is probably your world. There'll be three or four different meanings for X-ray.
Yep.
And people get lost and confused with that. So we talked about,
and hospital rooms change a lot. Doctor names changes. If you could have a personalised,
absolutely, it's
name and an experience for the hospital experience.
It's absolutely important that we have this, and we do it very, very well. I'm particularly passionate about making sure that the NHS uses the software because of the benefits that it can bring to the patient. Reduce that stress, reduce that anxiety from when they walk in. But picture the scene. So you get your appointment letter to go see a consultant. At the top there's a QR code. Scan this QR code. Scan the QR code. It gives you the map of the hospital. It tells you exactly where you can preload the information into that QR code. Exactly the room the consultant's going to be in on that day of your appointment. When you go to your appointment, you open up the app before you leave home, and you're going to go, right, the bus station, when's my next bus coming in? You click on the bus icon. And that comes
so it's integrated also with the transport.
Absolutely, yeah, links into all of that.
So great. So if you're in London, it will integrate with TfL, and I'm in Fulham Road, and I want to go to
Canary Wharf. We link in all the APIs around that. So clearly, it's work that needs to be done to link into those. The hospitals are specific. Yeah. So the train or the bus that's coming into that particular platform.
Train again.
Sorry, I'll stop talking about it now. But then you walk into the hospital. You have the map of where the consultant is now. What happens every single day within NHS? That morning, the consultant's room is no longer 27; it's now 36.
Exactly.
You know what? It's already been done. It's already been changed. The patient doesn't even need to worry about that, because the back end system, which we talk about, has automatically made that change.
And the hospital's just making those changes themselves in the morning, just updating it.
And it
the receptionist, whoever.
Absolutely, and it just fundamentally works really, really well. You can even take it to the next stage, and we haven't done this with any hospital, but similar to what Star Alliance are doing. As somebody walks into the hospital, the PA or the secretary or the assistant to the consultant knows where that person is, so they can go and get them. They can pick them up. They can
could be somebody elderly, somebody just lost their way from the restroom, because obviously again we go back to emotional and the sensitivities and the hospitals. Every corridor looks the same.
Absolutely.
Every corridor looks the same, every door looks the same, and very quickly you can be disorientated in a space like that. So what you're saying is that the what do you call them, the nurse for the ward nurse, if someone's missing for more than 10 minutes, they'll be able to locate them.
If they opt in, because don't forget, personal data, we need to make sure it's very protected, and we're very clear that we use anonymized data to be able to position you. So we don't know who you are. You can position you through, using Apple and Android. So, if there is that next level, you can actually sign up for the app or sign up for, information gathering. Yeah, you can absolutely do that. So they can actually position them where they are. So given that, taking that anxiety, taking that ability away, and on the route to the appointment, they want to go to the restroom, you can redirect them to the restroom and they can come back onto their journey. So very similar to what you do within your car, you do that within your handheld, and you'll be able to do that. You turn up to the hospital, you don't have one of those appointment letters, you're going to X-ray, you don't know where it is. There's a kiosk there, one of your kiosks there, and there's a map on it. So you go up to want to find X-ray, kicks up the QR code, scan it with your phone, there's the map. It's instantly been deployed onto your phone, and you walk to where you need to get to. So it gives you that ability to reduce downtime. I mean, the NHS, the stats are ridiculous on how many people miss appointments. It's like 30%.
It's wastage, isn't it?
Massive cost and a huge wastage. Now, there's a number of different reasons why people miss them, but a lot of them get lost. A lot of them get lost in these beautiful big buildings. And given the ability to be able to route themselves, and using the oldest tool known to man, which is a map. so it's just in your handheld, it's in your device, and you're getting routed with your blue dot to where you need to get to. So it's really valuable for that. And healthcare, as I say, it's a particular passionate for me because I've seen, family members get lost in hospitals, especially during the COVID times where there was nobody there to help you. You just walk into these things, all right, where do I go?
And you're anxious to even speak to people and get too close.
Covered off. So you get to the situation where, Living Map can solve a piece of that puzzle. We're going to give you the ability to be able to navigate through, whether it's from the car park to where you need to get, from the bus station to where you need to get to.
Yeah.
And, giving that, that real strength and depth is really important. And that's what gets me up in the morning. It's giving the ability for users to be able to use my technology intuitively, very simply, being able to access it from wherever they are with whatever they've got, and being able to give the operational piece, the ability to make changes on the hoof, wherever that may be.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely huge.
So I think this is where our worlds really come together nicely, is that, our background is static wayfinding, and we saw a natural progression to digital elements being part of those traditionally static wayfinding signs. So totems and having elements within those totems to communicate places, locations that change, names that change. So hospital's always been a great one where, as you said, the consultant room changes, the wards are changing constantly. So being able to have within the sign a bit of digital element to be able to have the agility to make those changes. And the next step is, of course, then, taking it to a mobile device. And the amount of stress that I think that it takes away from not only the patients, the caregivers as well in public spaces. I think that's something you guys can be very proud of, that
I think,
you're
absolutely.
not just contributing to experience but functionality.
I think so. And as I said right from the start, at the top of the session, it's smart technologies is about so much more than just one piece of the puzzle. It's got to be that end-to-end piece, and this is where you guys really come in and show strength. You are showing that end-to-end piece, and we can go into the technology of how the pieces need to sit together. But I'm sure your listeners will get bored with me talking about technology all day. I hope we talk about rail again before you know. But you have the ability to be able to have so many more different parts of the puzzle. The amount of times the customers say, where do we get kiosks from? Where do we get totems from? We don't have,
There's a need always for static signage.
Absolutely.
We'll always still need
Canary
that.
Wharf are building their own because they couldn't find someone to supply the hardware and the connections that they needed and the specific design that they needed. And they've done a fantastic job in deploying. They've got 10 now that's been deployed across the whole of the site. With the map on it to be able to do that. So we're one part of the puzzle. Yeah, we are the piece of the puzzle that will be I would say arguably the most interactive with the users. But the screen still needs to be there. The ability to access it still needs to be there. People, maybe it's just me, but don't want to walk into a shopping mall and spend hours trying to find Hermes or Zara. They just don't. They want to get there, but they want to potentially go home. Maybe I'm wrong there. They want to spend time shopping.
Spend the whole day. In the summer, you're in the mall all day. You go to the cinema, you go shopping, you eat there.
I got it wrong. So, but have the ability
Come
to
in 50 degrees. There's nothing to do but go to a mall.
Absolutely. But having the ability to be able to do that is really important. But look, I know I keep on going on about this, but make the technology really simple, and being able to share your location is hugely valuable. Your kids are in the shopping mall running around, they've got their mobile phones, they're probably spending on a credit card. Safety issues, and we haven't really talked about the business case around emergency service and safety as well, which I will in a second, but think of the ability to be able to position yourself so you can send it to your mum, I'm here, come and join me, and you're not wasting time trying to find people. You can go and enjoy shopping experience because you know where everybody is, and you can send your locations and have that piece of
especially when in roaming in places like Dubai where you don't want to keep calling. It's you're spending like £2-3 just on trying to figure out where your husband is in the shopping mall.
Exactly. So and that does bring us on nicely to I believe one of the biggest business cases we've got within our environment, which is the security piece, which is the element of knowing people where people are. But think of this: we've been approached by a number of different shopping malls in the UK around the ability for emergency services to be able to have access to a map. Now, they are having to put big metal boxes on the front doors of these big shopping malls that look big and ugly, and the emergency services come and open these doors, and there's a map printed in there so they can see their way around.
Oh, wow. So is that what happens
That's what
when
happens
emergency
today.
services go to a large public venue?
Yeah.
So I'm guessing it'd be the same with museums, stadiums.
Yeah, so they have to have the ability, and it all becomes because of the Manchester bombing, the ability to be able to move emergency services in and get people out, and they need to be able to know where they're going. And the routes they're going. So a fireman is not going to be an expert on Dubai Mall. So he'll need to know where the fire is, where he's got to get to, what he's got to get to that point. So, but as I always say, the minute a map is printed, it's out of date. So think of the user case from that perspective. So a mall user's living map is constantly being updated. We can bespoke that map specifically for emergency services, and it could be locked down just for emergency services. Only emergency services can see that map. So if they need to know where the fire hydrant is, they need to know where the electricity switch off is, they need to know where the gas switch off is. We can direct them to that position really, really quickly because we would know exactly where it is. Position it on a map. They can say, I'm at the main entrance. I need to take myself to the fire hydrant. It's here.
It's back of house as well.
Exactly,
So traditionally, as a end user, I'm only seeing a shopping mall in terms of the public spaces, and then you've got back of house that emergency services would need access to. Operations, if there's an emergency, I don't know, like a flood or something, you probably want to be able to have that back of house access as well.
Exactly. So we can bespoke the map specifically for that particular piece.
So different views.
So different views, and we can lock it down or give access on however you see. So so one of the things that we're talking to a few shopping malls in the UK about is is that emergency services piece. If there is an incident, how do emergency services get to that incident in a very efficient way? Well, they use a living map. Which takes to the next stage, which is airports are constantly challenged around tracking luggage. Now,
can you track luggage?
We can, yes. So it's interesting. It's an interesting concept because airports and airlines are always I suppose at loggerheads when it comes to luggage. So if you think about it, you drop your luggage off. Whose fault is it? So you kind of figure out, do they really want to track it? Then all of a sudden there's a fault.
There's a blame game.
There's a blame game going in there. But no, we're doing a project with a very large airline.
Can you say who?
I can't. No, they're under NDA, unfortunately.
Europe or
in the US? In the US.
Okay.
In a very, very large airport where they're using IoT microdot technology. So every label that gets printed out, there's a microdot on there, and as that
on the label that you put on the handle,
handle,
which normally has the barcode.
Exactly, but it's just a little microdot, so no one can see it. It's tiny, it's the sign of a pinprick. And as that goes through the system, it's a passive tag, so it picks up through beacons as to where that suitcase is. And now, who will have access to that map is something that will come out the back of this proof of concept. But the idea for us is that the passenger knows where their suitcase is at any one time.
Yeah.
Now, I know we've got all these Apple tags that are coming out and all the different pieces that are coming through.
Yeah, a lot of infrastructure, cost, and
there's a lot of infrastructure, a lot of cost. But bear in mind that when you're going into a metal box, you're going into a Faraday cage. Which is going to block technology or is going to create conflict around technology. It's why RFID has always been a little bit of an issue when it comes to working in these environments where if you've got a passive tag that is bouncing off beacons or Bluetooth or Wi-Fi systems as it's going through the system, you can pretty much position where your suitcase is at any one time. And does a passenger need to know exactly where their suitcase is within a meter?
Yes.
No, but
isn't
don't. But you would like to. But until it comes through that, you want to know it's coming through that gate at the time. But you
I just want to know when it's going to get on the conveyor belt.
You want to know it's on the conveyor belt. You want to know
what's
on the conveyor belt. You want to make sure it's on the plane, and you want to make sure at least it's going towards the right direction. I suppose there will be
and track if it's going off with somebody else.
Yes, this is really important as well. But think of that from an operational perspective. Okay, so where every single suitcase is associated to a particular individual anywhere in these huge buildings. And you've got a map to locate it. So you're here, the suitcase is over there, off you go to find it. So from an operational perspective, there's a huge value. The business case is huge. But from a passenger perspective, knowing your suitcase has gone from A to B to C is a real challenge.
I think for revenue, it helps as well. So if I know that I've still got another 4 or 5 minutes before it's going to turn up on the conveyor belt and I've got duty free right next to me, there you go. I'm going to go buy some perfume.
Exactly. But think of the end-to-end piece of this as well, right? So you're going on holiday. You're coming to beautiful Dubai, and you're staying at the Royal Meridian in the marina, which we stay in as well. Give them a bit of a punt because they're a fantastic hotel. And you're staying there. So think of the actual user experience. So in the morning, your luggage can be picked up from your house in the UK, and it arrives at your hotel. unpacked if that's what you wanted, but it's in your room, right? So you just want to be able to track it all the way through. It's actually a challenge that Neom gave us quite recently, was really how do they track it from the moment it leaves someone's hand at their house to arrive at the hotel, and they don't have to worry about it, but they can track it all the way through.
Like tracking a parcel with DHL and knowing where it is, it's on the way, or if you're getting your Deliveroo, knowing where that driver is on the route to you.
It's absolutely huge. So having the ability to be able to do that is really important. But bear in mind, we're not Google Maps. We do indoor maps. So we'll do the airport piece. So it's bringing those.
So once it's arrived.
Yeah. So we kind of bring all the pieces together within the airport, as it were. So as the luggage gets picked up from somebody's door, there's a token or a sensor that's put onto that. Logistics companies have this done really, really well. They've got it to a T. So they can deliver very well, right? Look at Amazon. You can track them left, right, and centre. But it's going through that internal process and making sure that it achieves where it's going to. What we'll do is we'll just give the mapping of the internal space so that you can be more efficient as an airport. So if a luggage has fallen off the conveyor belt, if a piece of luggage has fallen off the conveyor belt, you can go and put it back on. If that is tracked and there is lost, or worst case scenario, it doesn't arrive at the designated hotel, guess what? You know where it is because it's got this microduct technology and it's on there. So yeah, I mean, the user cases for Living Map and the ability to be able to expand it out to assets, out to people, hospitals, being able to know where the carts or the drug carts are or wherever at any one time by putting tokens on it and be positioned is efficient. An engineer coming in to fix a light bulb within a big shopping mall could take hours trying to find the broken light bulb, but able to send him right to that point on a map. Yeah. It's huge. So yes, the ability.
So many use cases. More than just a visitor experience and navigating from A to B. I think that's the point there, is that with integrating all this information, you're giving people peace of mind.
Absolutely. And the value is of course customer experience. Of course it is. In everything we do, whether it's passenger experience, whether it's patient experience, whether it's customer experience within a shopping mall. It's making sure that they enjoy every moment that they're in there, even if it is something that's incredibly stressful, like going to a hospital.
And then you get retention in terms of like your mall visitors, etc. So this is all very new to a lot of people listening to this, in terms of being able to have this type of information on a phone. You and I know that box is ticked. We're deploying those solutions. They're going live across this region, America, Europe, it's there. What's the future? What's next for Living Map and integration, perhaps? Or have you come across any clients coming to you with a new challenge? Perhaps you can just tell us what the future looks like for the next 2 or 3 years.
Sure. So yeah, we've got quite a compelling roadmap on what new technology we're going to be bringing out. So from a technology perspective, we're constantly got our finger on the pulse as to what's going on. Yeah. Constantly being driven by our customers. Star, talked a little bit about Star earlier on. They're telling us what they wanted, so we've been very much driven by that. But at the same time, we're Phil is building. Phil Ray again, our CTO, is building a compelling R&D division where it's really thinking about what's so much more. So we talk about asset tracking, we talk about people tracking, we talk about easy access to having accessibility.
Emergency services.
Absolutely. I mean, give our guys a chance to breathe because they've just launched the new UI and it's fantastic. You can search your location. It's really great. Works well in rail stations. But it's really, really important that we've constantly got our finger on the pulse. And even you've challenged us a few things. You want AR. You want to be able to do 3D mapping. You want to be able to do all this kind of technology.
There's such an appetite in this region, Peter. People really want that AR experience, being able to use that camera functionality within it, and especially for places like theme parks.
It's huge. It's a huge demand. But what's really interesting is that again, you speak to our technical guys and they'll say, absolutely, we can do it. It's really easy. We can do it. People use it once or twice. They won't use it constantly. People want navigation. They want to be able to get from A to B. When the novelty wears off using AR, which is what we believe it potentially is going to have, they will come back to, I just want to be able to route myself from A to B and be able to find that. Yeah. Of course, we're going to embrace it. Of course, we're going to talk about it. Customers are demanding that we do it. So we will be building it into the platform. It's not something that's going to be very hard for us to do. So we build the platform. The platform, the software is run by us. We can make changes as we see fit. So we will be doing that from a technology perspective. From a business perspective, for me, we can take one of 3 steps out the UK. We can do 4, I suppose, if you count in the Far East. But we can do the US, we can do mainland Europe, we can do the Middle East, and we can do the Far East. So where do we go next? We've built the UK.
Yeah.
We've got some great customers in the US. The Met
Met
Museum
in New York. I mean,
which
you've
is
got
absolutely-
London, New York kind of covered.
Yeah,
so
absolutely, yeah. So we're
now
doing
it's
well. It's
Dubai
absolutely great. It's got to
and
be the Middle
Saudi.
East. And the reason that we're doing this is it's twofold, right? Yes, of course, the Middle East is an incredibly exciting place.
Why is it exciting? Why do you find it exciting? I love hearing from people in Europe, US, Far East, just coming here and just looking at purely as business. Forget the tourism and everything.
Sure.
Why is it exciting?
I think for me personally, the excitement is around innovation. It's around that entrepreneurial spirit. It's around that we want the best, but we want the best not at a massive cost, but we don't mind the cost so much as long as it is the best and it works and it's functional and it makes our lives so much easier. So that whole business environment that's been created in the Middle East is very exciting for me. The procurement processes, I mean, the Brits are renowned for exporting procurement processes around the world, and we fall foul of them in the UK all the time. But the ability to be able to sell and interact into the Middle East for me is really exciting. So the next step for me is the Middle East. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm talking to a lot of customers out here. That's why we're our big customer Neom in the Middle East. And it's really important that we embrace that and we work really, really well with that. It's also efficiency as well. People I find here, I mean, I'm not saying that people aren't efficient in the UK because they really, really are, but they just want to be able to get where they need to get to and do what they need to do and, have spare time to be able to move along. So that's again, Living Map is a small piece of that puzzle that kind of helps with that. And also you're going to help us get better. The Middle East is going to help us drive to be a better organisation. The ability for us to be innovative around our solution is going to be driven from areas like Saudi Arabia, like Dubai, like Bahrain. They're demanding so much more from us, which is great for us because that gets our technical people very excited on what we're actually delivering and how we deliver it. Also access to board. We talked a little bit about this before.
C-suite.
That C-suite. To me, C-suite care. They want to see what's.
They're so involved in this region.
Absolutely.
And customer experience journey is something that they take so much pride in this region. They want people to have a great experience. We have a matrix here, I don't know whether you know, in Dubai it's called it's happiness.
Right.
So Dubai wants to be the happiest place in the world.
I think they're doing well at that. So.
Yeah, so there's a lot of initiatives around making people's lives happier, trying to find out what is that, and I think it is, public spaces.
It really is, and given accessibility, the whole of Living Map started around accessibility, given the ability to be able to access things, be able to ability to get into things and do things so much more efficiently. It's where Living Map come from.
Yeah.
So no, for me, particularly interested in Dubai, Middle East as a whole, Saudi Arabia and what they're doing, exploding, with infrastructure bills. Just they've listened to the world. They're becoming world leaders in so many different things, and they're desperate.
Football.
I mean, football. Cristiano Ronaldo was the man who went and did that for them. But no, look, for me, it's the interest they have in what we do.
Yeah.
They want to be so much better, and they'll help us be better as well.
Speed as well.
Yeah.
So before we wrap up, we know that Network Rail is your favorite
That's what I talk about.
favorite project to date, would you say?
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's a couple of projects we did there. I met a really interesting guy when I was at Network Rail, a guy called Patrick Bossett, who you probably would have heard of him. Patrick wrote a book when I think he was 12 years old called How to Crack the Rubik's Cube. And it was a Ladybird book, and it's still published today, and it was a bestseller. He's brain like a planet. So Patrick, if you're watching this, hi, how are you? Patrick was an amazing guy, and he came to us, and I had a couple of the sales guys working for me at the time on Network Rail. He was head of innovation, head of digital rail. And he said, I'd like to buy 15,000 iPhones, and I'd like them delivered all by Christmas. And this was in October time. And I kind of, course, fell off my chair as a sales guy, thinking that's my target done for the next 5 years. Brilliant, blah, blah, blah. And one of the sales guys, and I'll call him out, Andrew Arthur, sat up and said, why do you want to buy that? And I looked at him and said, Andrew, now's not the time to talk. Now's the time to accept the order and walk away.
Yeah.
He goes, well, I have this idea of giving these iPhones out to all the users it's called Project Orbis, which is basically making it more efficient to be able to do things. So picture the scene from a rail perspective. If you're a project manager and you've been given a task to change a piece of the rail, there's so many different assets you need. You need a digger, you need a crane, you need whatever you need. Now, Network Rail own all of these assets, but they could be anywhere. So if you think about what that was all about, so you're a project manager, you need all these assets, you go onto the asset list, which is here's your asset list you were given, and they go, right, I can get a crane, I can't get a digger, I'll have to hire that, blah, blah, blah. The only problem is that asset list, there was 28,000 asset lists with different assets on every single one of them. So they didn't have, I know, it just generically grew massively. So his idea was really to bring all those assets into one place and give accessibility to them all. So all of a sudden, Network Rail is still are not spending all the money on renting new equipment because
they know where they are.
On the other side of the track, they know where they are.
Yeah.
So that was really exciting. So Andrew, in his infinite wisdom, said, don't buy 15,000, buy 150 from me, and I'll put a full managed service around them. So complete end-to-end managed service, 24/7. If they break, we change them within 5 minutes. So what was really interesting about that was when we started to roll them out, it was the actual device ended up on the front page of the Sun newspaper because it was like, look what Network Rail are giving to all their employees. You know, these really expensive devices, absolutely ridiculous. Blah blah.
That's
blah.
why rail prices are so high.
Exactly, all of that kind of thing.
Course.
However, when you stop and think about what that device is actually doing, it was giving them the ability to be able to take a photograph of a broken part of a track that goes automatically into a system, automatically back to, and they could process it so much quicker. Where it takes 6 weeks to replace a piece of track, it was taking a week.
So it's making them cost effective,
massively
time,
cost-effective.
efficiency.
Absolutely, and it kind of drove that whole reason for smart technologies at its very, very best.
Yeah.
So they did end up buying 15,000 over a period of time, but we put a whole managed wrap around it, and it was so exciting because then all of a sudden we're managing their application platform, we're managing their devices, we're managing the connectivity, and everything that came up with it. And it's still. And Patrick left Network Rail a number of years ago, and he sent me a note. He says we're still saving Network Rail 100 million a year. So to me that was
you saved them 100 million, and
that's a win, right?
Is it? Yeah, exactly, and that impacts rail fares.
Absolutely.
And prevents them from rising even more than they are already.
So rail is all about efficiency, right? It's all about making sure that the rail, the train turns up on time and leaves on time. But would it my favourite project? Yeah, I love working with Patrick. I love working with the technology guys, the understanding of what they're really trying to achieve. And it was exciting. It was groundbreaking. They had never done anything like this before. Network Rail was all about engineers on the side of tracks, banging in nails and keeping the trains on the track and doing it well. So that's why I love rail. That's why I love working in that sector, because it's so innovative. It drives that technical, that engineering brain inside of me to really think more and more. But BlackBerry is still, to this day, I've mentioned that a few times.
Yeah, BlackBerry.
It was the most exciting
and
time.
And there's the movie.
Oh, the movie.
And what do you think of the I haven't watched it yet, but I have had...
I haven't watched it either.
I've had feedback from people that have watched it. And what are your thoughts? Because you lived it.
Yeah, I mean,
did you live that time?
No, that was probably before my time. That was sort of when they first launched it in the US. And all I can say, and I've seen some feedback from some of the old team that was there, that I worked with Mike Lazaridis. He came over once and he went to a couple of customers with me. And he was driven. He was a hardcore guy to get this product out there. I learned, just the way that he did the go-to-market globally with the likes of Rick Costanzo and other really powerful people was really quite compelling. It really was. And he was very nice to me. He was very friendly and couldn't be more supportive.
So you don't have an experience?
I don't have a bad experience with him at all. Mike Lazaridis was the founder. He was, he's brain like a planet. Had this idea of putting this device into the handheld and the most critical application, which was email into the handheld. These people, and I say I haven't seen the movie, and I deliberately haven't gone to see it, just because I think there's been some from the people that were there at the time. There's been the Hollywoodization of it, if you want to call that, to what it actually was. Because do you know what? I still look back, and they were my fondest days. I loved working there. I loved the people. I still keep in touch with a number of them today, and they were great people. They were all about just creating something special, and I was part of that. I was a very small piece of that puzzle.
I think it's the catalyst that kind of got us to where we are now. It was the first handheld device that gave you value. Those emails for businessmen, financiers, all these people that needed things like on the fly when they're out.
And it absolutely was, literally groundbreaking when it came to there was nobody believed. There were so many other devices that were coming out. The Palm Pilot, everyone was talking about these other devices that were coming out, and the Compact, whatever it was, can't remember now.
There was the
Nokia flip phone, and all
the one that opened up.
Yeah, but the carriers at the time never believed that anybody would want to do anything more than make a phone call. And it was. And, I had many people at Carrier that will remain nameless that said they can go off and do all that other stuff, but when they want to make a phone call, they'll come back to us. And you kind of go, you've just got the arrogance.
You just don't get it.
You just don't get it. It's about smart technology. It's about making people efficient. And BlackBerry got that right.
Yeah.
And I do. And I look back and such fond days, such fond memories of some wonderful people that, basically changed my life, put me where I am today.
Your trajectory was because of
absolutely, and I do think
launching this handset that revolutionized the way that people had access to information for business. And then it started as very much a business device, but later, I was using it at university because of BBM.
Yeah, absolutely.
Instant messaging.
But think of where we are today.
That preceded WhatsApp.
Exactly. Where I am today, I think about, the reason that BlackBerry was so successful was because it was so easy to use. The keyboard was a QWERTY keyboard. Everyone knew how to type with your thumbs. Full QWERTY keyboard. It had the screen. Oh, there's your email. You open your email. Oh, your email's there. You can read it. Oh, I can send an email. Really simple,
browser,
technical, really simple stuff. Ridiculously clever technology in the background to make it all work. The security level was something that was really that was amazing. And bear in mind, BlackBerry's still doing incredibly well today. It's still got a lot of back-end systems that work incredibly well, and that security piece that it came with was huge. That's what we're doing at Living Map today, if you think about it. We're giving that real, simple, easy access to be able to do something that everybody knows, a map.
At your fingertips.
Been able to do that. So there is a lot of similarities between the two. I don't think they'll ever make a movie about me and Living Map, but you never know. But I will say that I do look back and fond memories of that time, and what we did, I think, was amazing. And say Rick is still, to me, is someone I looked up to. And,
an inspirational
absolutely
figure.
Inspirational figure. And the hours he worked to be able to do what he did, moved his whole family from Canada to the UK, and just incredible mindset and incredible drive. And that's what they were all like. Everybody that worked for BlackBerry had the same kind of mentality. It's hard work. Let's get this product out there. Let's do it. We've got that at Living Map today. And hopefully you'll see that.
Yeah.
So,
well, thank you so much for your time.
Absolute pleasure, Nita. Thank you for inviting me.
And I hope you enjoyed Dubai.
I'll do my very best. I'll be happy.
Thanks.
I'll stop talking about rail.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you.
Rhine and Shine podcast brought you